promised you, One Africa Radio TV, that today you're going to be having the man of the hour, the man who has been doing amazing in the South African music industry, not even South Africa, in the African music industry scene. The man was born in Angola, Luanda, the place, and also grew up in Soweto, Captain Park. This man started as a dancer, came through to the music side. He has given us the beautiful project like You Don't Know Me Yet, Glory on Any Territory, Egypt. He started being grounded to the African soil. He gave us the soil, the mud. And right now, we are experiencing the beautiful project called Dust. And the man that I'm talking about is Serunye, Ricardo, Apollo, Domingos.
The Gonzalo, De La Chandra, Luca, Moloi.
Yes!
Let's go!
Oh, yes! The big dog is in the building, my brother. How are you doing?
My king, I'm blessed, man. I was a bit, I was a little anxious because, I like being on time. So I was on time, Turns out that I was at the wrong radio station, wrong building, wrong street. But I'm humbled, man. I'm happy I'm here.
Thank you so much, man, for coming through.
Thank you.
You've been doing amazing in the African music scene, and hence, as One Africa Radio TV, we will definitely love to celebrate you for all your greatness. And you've been, as I'm saying, you've been doing amazing. There's so much growth because the last time I saw you, you were still pushing hard to make a mark in the industry. Yeah. This time you're coming in as the legend in the rap game.
Jeez, man.
Thank you so much, man. Your hard work is being seen. Hence, we want to celebrate you. I'm sorry that yesterday you lost as Angola. But again, you're still in the AFCON because
of course,
you're still South Africa.
So yeah, tonight, let's go.
Bless up one time, my brother. And maybe possibly just to take it from there to say, because you were born in Angola, to say, how was life like from Angola and from you moving from Angola to South Africa as a young kid to come to Soweto? Sure. How was life like for you?
Man, look, a lot of people have asked me that question, and I was born in Angola. I came to South Africa when I was a few months old. So even my experience of Angola, I don't remember anything.
Yes.
Literally, my father was a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
He went into exile when he was 19. Ooh. He was there for 15 years. And received military training in Angola, which is where he met my mother,
Oh, yes.
As soon as they got the call back to say, Mandela's been let free, you guys can come back into the country. My father then started making plans and to come back into South Africa. And we came here early 90s. And I grew up in Soweto, Meadowlands. So what I really remember is growing up in Soweto, Grew up in Soweto, Meadowlands. That's where my soccer skills were harnessed, running skills.
Oh, yes, even going straight to Morocco Swallows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From there, I moved to the East Rand, Kempton Park is where I grew up, really. That's where I started really rapping, taking stuff very seriously, battle rapping, then going into soccer. I was still doing soccer at the same time,
Yes.
Playing for Morocco Swallows, doing SA athletics. I did 100 meter, 200 meter. And the only reason why I stopped doing that is because I've had 6 knee operations, So when I was 13, I developed a knee tumor on my left knee.
Oh.
And then we did a few operations there. And then the same thing developed 3 years later in my right knee. So after having years of operations, just playing soccer was too painful for me.
Oh, yes. No, I
And
understand.
even the way I played like I was afraid, because you've been...
Because you knew that,
I'm
now you had
injured
some
now,
injuries.
so it's so it also changed my style of play. And for me, it just gave me like the opportunity to take the music thing seriously. And 15, 17 years later, I'm seated here in front of you. I'm humbled, man. You called me like a legend. You said that when we first came across each other, I was still like trying to make it into the industry. And now I'm a legend. And for me, that's so humbling because I still see myself as someone who's really trying to still break through. I'm still not where I want to be. I feel like I'm not where I deserve to be. But I'm where God has placed me, so I think it's the right place also at the same time. But I'm still really trying to break through. So seeing people refer to me as a legend. I've had so many people come to me about Dust and say, "Yo, Fethu, like, you're a goat in SA hip hop and African hip hop," and it's like, it's so humbling, because I think sometimes when you are in the journey, as someone looking outside in, it's like, you see the growth, but as someone who's inside it, it's like, man, I'm still so far away from where I want to be, But it's a humbling experience, I'll tell. Yeah.
Great, and I'm happy that you're sharing that. And also on my side, I've seen that ever since the introduction of Africa,
Sure.
your daughter, there was a drastic change even to your music. You started being planted to the African soil.
You're right.
You gave us the soul. You gave us Might. Also gave us this beautiful one, of which is amazing project.
you,
I can't even skip even one song.
Yeah.
Would you say the birth of your daughter brought changes to your life?
Yo, man, you worded it so correctly there, man. That's really where it started, you know. And even before my daughter, it was in my in the process of my lobola negotiations with my wife.
Ooh, yes.
And prior to that, me and her had just moved in together. Because before that, you know, I was still at my parents' house. She was at her parents' house. And at some point, I lived at her mother's place for like a few months. And I was really couch hopping. I was at Wichita 80s house, you know. Because at the time,
yes.
my father had told me, he's like, yo, man, if you still want to pursue this music thing, I'm sure you didn't finish. You did 3 years of school. I paid for your schooling. And you didn't want to finish. You're a grown-ass man now, so leave.
Just find a way.
And you know, so Buntle's mother housed me for a while. Wichita 80 housed me for a while until, you know, we're able to save up and, like, you know, work on the craft enough to the point where I could come to my father and say, yo, man, this girl that I've been with for the last 10 years, this is the woman I want to marry, you know. And through the process of us going through our Lobola negotiations, you know, I became more in touch with my heritage, trying to find out, you know, okay, the history of my people. Where do we come from, you know? And also, I started, watching more podcasts online about African spirituality.
Yes,
you know? I started having different visions, different dreams, you know, and it just awoken. It awoken my third eye. You know, I was really intrigued in finding out about us as Black people, and in that process, Africa was conceived. And when she was born, and hence why her name is Africa, because myself and my wife were really entrenched into finding out about, you know, who we are as African people. How did we pray before we were colonized? You know?
Yes.
How did we speak to our ancestors before we were colonized? What is our relationship with them? How did we heal? What kind of medicines were we using before?
Very interesting.
Before we introduced into Western medication, you know, and in that process, COVID came, and I was at home, and while I was at home, I had time to meditate, to pray, to tap in with myself and my guides, my ancestors, God. And I think the music that I started making is a reflection of that, because now we're at home. So I wasn't interested in performing at the club anymore, performing, you know, doing big. I really wanted people to hear what I'm saying. So even the production changed in that time. So
Very true.
So we dumbed down the production.
Even
we
the
took away a lot of the.
You started.
Definitely, I started becoming Man, I grew up, man. I think just to sum it up, it was growth. I found myself being a grown man. I'm not the same 15-year-old kid that was still trying to rap in the street corners. You know, I'm a father now. I'm a married man. You know, so what am I trying to say to the children that are listening to us as South African and African artists? You know,
yes, very true.
I just felt like my narrative had to change a bit.
Yes.
It couldn't still be about glorifying the streets. Women, parties, money. That's not to say that I won't mention it in my music anymore, but I just felt like I had a bigger responsibility to the kids who are listening, and I just wanted to share some of the things that I've been learning, you know, within my spirituality, within my meditation, within my growth.
Yes.
And I think that's why we ended up getting the music we've been getting. Yeah.
Nah, thank you so much, man. And there's something that you just mentioned right now, of which there's something also that I took from the project, where you say, I hope you know in the future you will be an ancestor.
Exactly.
In that, just to understand, to say, right now, as you've been searching to understand your Africanness and also pushing the Africanism, to say, where did you learn to say, right now, when we're talking about ancestors, what information did you come up with to say, okay, now I understand myself fully, where I come from, and this is where now I'm leaning to when we're talking about African spirituality?
Sure. Look, and I could be wrong, because I'm still a student in life.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, you know. But my interpretation of it is that, a lot of us are lost because we are not connected with our roots, with where we come from. A lot of us don't know our lineage. We don't know, a lot of young boys, more specifically, don't know their fathers. And if they grew up around their father, they never had a relationship with their father. It's just ubaba.
Yeah,
When
that's
dad
it.
comes home from work, you move away from the dining room, you go outside, you go play, or you go to your room, you sleep. So there's no relationship that was really like
Oh yes, the only time you speak to your father is when he disciplines you.
exactly.
Sheesh. Yeah.
So with that being said, I just felt like our ancestors, because we're so lost, you see a lot of people finding themselves in practices that they shouldn't be practicing in, you know?
Yes.
They find themselves going for initiations that they shouldn't really actually be part of, you know? But it's because people are searching. And in experiencing all of that, one thing I had to come up with for myself was that, yo, man, our ancestors, for me, are within us, you know? You go to the mountains trying to find your ancestors. You go and take herbs trying to find your ancestors. You go to the rivers trying to find your ancestors. But no, that's only where you reconnect with your ancestors. But ultimately, your ancestors are in your bloodline, you know? For instance, my wife's father passed away when she was 6 years old, right? He committed
Yes.
suicide when she was 6 years old. But today, so she never learned to see how her father walked, how he acted,
Ooh, yes.
and that kind of thing. But everyone who knows her father says, yo, man, you walk just like your father. You speak just like your father. How is she able to have learned that if she never grew up around her father?
She never even saw him.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because her
Yes.
father lives within her. You
Ooh,
know?
that's too
so
much power.
our ancestors are within our bloodline. They're within our genes. So, for instance, my mother was an athlete. She could run very fast. I grew up being able to run very fast because
Yeah.
that's my mother. So we are the ancestors. So in 100 years from now, 200 years from now, given the fact that you make children and your bloodline continues, you'll find that you get to live again in 100 years. Your reincarnation doesn't come in the form of you just being born again. No, it's
Yeah.
because you're in that son's bloodline who goes and has a wife and they have children and then they have children and then they have
Still.
children and then without even knowing, like, Ochalex comes back. Like, have you ever found that, you know, sometimes your grandparents, someone will say like, yo man, you look like Ubaba
Exactly.
who lived in 1920. Yeah, your features are the same. You guys have the same shortness, the same walk. I've been told that a lot about some of my grandparents. Like, no man, you remind us of Surunya. Hence, I was named after my grandmother's brother. It's like, no man, you act
You
just
remind
like
us
him.
of him. Yes.
You know?
And
but
you've
that's-
never met him.
And I've never met him.
Yes.
So that's just to say that, like, be careful of how you be careful of the knowledge that you take in. Be cognizant of the things that you eat, the things that you bring into your body, the things that you leave behind, because in 100 years from now, you are the ancestors. Your descendants are gonna be trying to connect with you. Like, yes, you know, I had a grandfather named Ricardo Sarunya, you know, and I heard he was a rapper, and he made this kind of music. And this is what he believed about spirituality. You know, they'll be going to the mountains to try and connect with me, but really where I am is
Within them.
I'm within them.
Yeah.
So if they center themselves and find themselves and they meditate and they train and they pray, you know, we're able to tap into the tools that our ancestors have given us because they're within us. That's just my belief, you know. I
Bro,
could be wrong.
there's too
Don't
much
quote
growth.
me.
Now, I'm not even to say I'm going to coach you, but
Sure.
so many things that you are saying right now are profound, of which, very true, we're always being told to say, you look like someone. Even the walk, even the way you speak, you're like, they say, you speak exactly like so-and-so who was, and when you check back, you say, oh, that person they're talking about was also from the same surname that I'm from, same family. So like, oh, okay, that means somewhere, somehow, I'm still connected to that elder that they are talking about.
100%.
Bro, you were talking about praying, and while you're talking about praying, there's something that also you said on No Plans, where you say, let's pray together when your spirit is low.
Yes, sir.
Again, you are one of the great rappers which gave us the blueprint as young men of South Africa, of Africa, to say you have been in a great, successful, healthy relationship and marriage. And to say, how are you able to balance the marriage time, the Priddy Ugly as the husband, Priddy Ugly as the father to Africa, and also Priddy Ugly, whom also we want in the African music scene?
Sure. Yeah, good question, bro. You know, Charles pays attention. He's listening to the music. He even quoting the lyrics. Yeah, man. But that's real. How I've been able to do that and find, because life ultimately is about balance. That's one thing I've learned. You know, Zenga once said, he was being interviewed somewhere, or it could have been a tweet that he posted, and he's like, you see, the issue with trying to be the best rapper in the world, ne, is that you can't be the best rapper in the world and be the best father in the world. Or you can't be the best father in the world and be the best rapper, because if you're being the best father, it means all your time is going to be taken into being a father. If you're the best rapper, where do you find time to become
a father?
So ultimately, it's not about being the best of all of that. It's about finding the best balance to accommodate all of these things. So that's what I've tried my best to do, you know. It's difficult. I'm still learning. It's my first time being a father. It's my first time being a married man. I don't have the formula.
Yes.
You know, all I have is references of like, oh, that's what my father did. Let me take some of those things that I learned from him. Or that's what he did that I didn't like, that didn't help his marriage. Let me not do that thing, you know? So one thing that me and my wife have harnessed since we were very young, you know, we together 15 years this year. We've known each other 17 years, you know?
Congratulations, my brother.
Bless up, King, you know? Married for 5 years. And what has made us solid is things like that. We pray together. And not only when you're low, even in the high times, even when we're happy, we need to remind ourselves like, oh, we are happy. It's like, and now because we're in this period of happiness, we must also be grounded and remember to give thanks and be grateful, you know. And in times when we are low, remember that God is still there with you, you know. So ultimately, at the base of our relationship is God. I still feel like the way I met my wife is by the grace of God, you know. It's like the way we met each other, how we've come together, how we ended up having a child that we have, the career that we've supported each other in. It's only by God's grace, you know. Because if I think about certain things, you know, I'll digress and just give a quick story.
Yes.
The woman that I was with, or the young lady that I was with before I was with my wife, I was with her for 3 years. She passed away in a car accident. Her name was Ricardo in 2007. And the day she passed away, she was on her way to a funeral with her parents. And on that weekend, she said to me, she's like, no, I'm home alone this weekend. Please come spend the day with me. And I was like, go to the funeral. I'll see you like on Monday when you come back, you know. She's like, no, I want to stay with. The whole week she kept saying, yo, I'm not going to the funeral. I mean, I'm staying, you know. So you're gonna come to my house on the week. And I kept forcing her to go. And the reason why I kept forcing her to go, I had my own ulterior motives. At the time, I'm a 15-year-old boy. And I was actually saying that because I was trying to go to a hip-hop dance event. At this hip-hop dance event, there was this girl that they used to speak about. I never met her. I only heard about her. There's this dancing girl named Bontle. You need to see this girl. This girl is amazing. So the reason why I was telling my then girlfriend to go to the funeral was because I wanted to go meet this girl, Bontle. Bontle didn't know me. I didn't know her. Yes. I just wanted to see her. And as I get to that event, before I even got to meet Bontle, my father calls me, asks me where I am. I tell him where I am. He's like, Ish, I have bad news for you. Larato has passed away. You know, she went to the funeral this morning. And in my head, I was wondering, I'm like, she didn't answer my phone calls this morning. You know, she didn't say goodbye. Anyway, so she passed on. And that's how, so to go back to God. And in that period, and I remember feeling so down. And then weeks later, I ended up meeting Bontle, you know, at a different event. And she helped me in my mourning process. Hence, I'm saying I've been with her for 15 years, but I was friends with her for 2 years. So in that 2 years, she was someone who was helping me deal with my mourning. And at the time, I felt like God had literally sent me an angel, you know?
Yes.
Because and the promise that I had made to God was to say, yo, if I ever have the opportunity to love somebody again, I'm not going to take it for granted. And that person that I feel like God has sent to me was my wife today. And, you know, 17 years later, we're still close. We're still building. We've even named our daughter. One of our daughter's name is Ricardo, you know? So to me, that my wife is not jealous of the past relationship that I had with. She actually embraces it. She knows that a big part of who I am and how I became the person that I am was because of this woman that was in my life before she was. And she's only but helped facilitate my growth, you know? But I give the honor firstly to God. Yeah.
Brother, thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story. I know it's not even a beautiful story, but for sharing a story like that, to see even the connection also for God, because throughout what you are explaining right now, you can see the connection of God to where He's leading you and how He has been walking with you to everything that you've been doing. And also, just to take you back to the rapping scene again. there's something that you said of which I agree with it.
Sure.
You spoke about you being top 5 on any list.
Yes, sir.
And again, you said you are what you eat. The reason why you eat goat.
You know.
So why it's so hard for you to take it to a point to say when we call you a legend, you are definitely a legend, and you are also using these words in some phrases that you're using, because you are definitely a legend, and especially when you're talking about these. I'm not saying the projects before that were not strong, but from soil, mud, dust. Man, there's too much information that you are sharing. Even your skill set has grown to a point where now when I'm listening to you, I don't even feel like I know. This is the statement that when I listen to your music, I don't even feel like I should be listening to anyone else, because I feel like I'm getting all the music and all the information that I would love to have in the music. And to see the growth from where you started, because you're one of the rappers or the musicians from Africa who came through knowing exactly how they want to carry themselves. The look was already giving the people to say this is professional. Even when it comes to your visuals, was already saying that I'm I'm already committing myself to this industry, to say yes. Always when you see me, be sure that I am and I do belong to this industry. To see where you are right now, how does it feel to you? And to even hear some people calling you a legend.
Yo, man. Yo. It's humbling, my brother. You know, even just hearing you say that, you never know who's listening. I'll be honest, when I came into the industry, because I was arrogant. I was a 13-year-old kid. And, you know, at the time I went to school with Frank Casino and Big Star Johnson and Touchline. And we're seeing all our seniors rapping, and I'm seeing all of this. I'm like, I can do this thing too. I didn't know how to rap, but I'm like, I think I can do this thing, you know? And literally, like, I just started practicing from then. And I'd rap my first lyrics to Big Star Johnson. Hey, Fetu, what do you think about these lyrics? He's like, hey, man, just put in a little work, you know?
Yeah.
And to see where we've come today, it's one testament again to God, but testament to my resilience, Fetu, you know? One thing I am is a person who doesn't give up. I've never let criticism bring me down. I've always believed in the highest amount of quality. So when I say that I came into the industry and I was arrogant, I came into the industry, I'm like, oh, these guys are rapping, I can do this too. In fact, I'm better than everyone here. I think I can do better. Oh, this is what you guys think is the best video?
I can do better than this.
I think I can do better.
Yeah.
So it came from literally being delusional as a kid, being arrogant, number one, or secondly. I was delusional, I was arrogant. I thought, I'm like, no, man, I can be the best rapper in the world, you know? And I just didn't stop practicing and putting in that energy, you know, and manifesting it for myself. And then fast forward a couple of years, you go into it, and then the arrogance, life brings you down, you know. You start to realize, or you become more awakened, and then you realize that, oh man, I'm not the only rapper in the world. I'm not the best rapper in the world, but I want to be one of the best. I want to be one of the greatest, you know. So one thing I realized is that working towards being the best is that the best is always going to be replaced. You know, Usain Bolt at one point was the best. There's going to be someone else, even if it's 10 years later, who's going to take his spot. But when you're great forever. And that's one thing I started to really try to cement with myself. Like, I just want to be, in fact, I don't even want to be the best rapper in the world anymore. There's too many rappers. And also being the best is very objective. You know, what you like about me, someone else doesn't like about me.
True.
You know, and the things that I like, someone else doesn't like them, you know. So it's very, very objective, you know, but greatness is solidified. Greatness comes with what you've left behind, the legacy you've left behind. People can say, yo, but in 2012, remember, he dropped that song. In 2015, he did this. In 2020, he won this award. It's like, those are all things that add up to being great. Or he was featured with Double HP. All the greats have given him cosigns. Double HP loved him. Rick loved him, you know. Rest in peace to their souls, you know. So anyway, so being here now, it's like, it's humbling, man. It's humbling. I never thought, not that I never thought we'd be here. Sometimes you're so deeply engulfed in the hustle and the hard work that you sometimes you lose yourself. You know, I've gotten myself into record deals that I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to be a part of, but I don't regret anything, because ultimately those are all lessons, and those are all things that built my character. And you know, and And today, when I can confidently say, yo, I'm top 5 on any list, every list, you know,
Yeah.
even back to front, it comes because I know what God has blessed me with. I know and understand the work that we've put in. And I think if we're talking about just overall quality, like you're mentioning, I mean, in 2012, I remember uploading music on SoundCloud, and there was no artist in South Africa who was uploading music on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Not at that time. In 2015, 2014, not even 2013, I was dropping videos that some artists, some of the biggest artists in South Africa couldn't drop. But that
Exactly.
wasn't just me. I also need to give the credit to the people who've been around me. I always had a great visionaries around me. You know, Side Effects Films, Nkululeko Lebambo, was able to bring my vision to life. And all he was a guy that I grew up with. We used to dance together, and he believed in my talent. And he's like, yo, Mfethu, I'm going to go study film. You doing music. There's another one who's like, yo, I'm going to go study fashion. And a different one of my friends says, yo, I'm going to go study, you know, sound design and sound engineering. And we built together. We had Wichi, Side Effects Films, Priddy Ugly. So as a result, I could drop music in 2013, and the mixing and mastering was clean. You know what?
Yeah.
So I don't wanna take all that credit for myself. I think it was God blessed me with the right people around me, the right level of motivation, the right level of even hate, because even the hate that I would get would motivate me. You know, it never brought me down. You know. So even when I knew that I wasn't the best in something, I was always prepared to put the hard work in to at least try to be the best. It's like when I got into boxing 2 years ago, I knew I was gonna suck,
Yeah.
you know. But my experience of that was like, but to be great at anything, you need to start from the beginning, you know. And unfortunately for me, it was a big platform, and one of the biggest platforms of my life, and I'm facing one of the biggest rappers we have on the continent, you know. So taking a loss in front of that many people, it's like it should be embarrassing, right? But for me, I was never really
But it's
embarrassed.
still a
about
win,
it.
okay.
But that's what I wanted to get to. It's like
Yeah.
it was a loss for sure, but even Mike Tyson lost. Muhammad Ali also lost. Now it's just different because like I'm losing in front of a lot of people who don't otherwise watch boxing.
Yes.
So now they remember me as that guy who lost.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
like, but it opened me up to so many different people, so many people who had never heard about me before now are familiar with the music. So with that being said, like that's just to justify like who I am as a person, that even when I fall in front of millions of people, I'm the type of person to keep getting up for it too.
Yeah.
Even when people told me in high school, they used to tell me that I'll never be anything. I had some teachers who told me that I'm not going to be a success in life, you know. Sometimes I had my father tell me that I was useless. And things like that motivated me. And anyway, with that being said, I'm here today, Jaya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, all this beautiful information that you are sharing, even these great experiences, it makes someone to be who he is. And also, I grew up around that situation where my father told me the very same thing, never even accepted me as his son. So right now, seeing you doing amazing like this, it always gives me inspiration. But just in closing, because there's something that has been happening in our industry of which you touched a whole lot of times when you listen to a song like Falling. That's where you mentioned the suicide of Ricky, also the leaving of City Light, and also you mentioned also the passing of Kenan Folk, aka also, to say even also WHP as well, to say around that where sometimes you feel like we're also losing people because of mental health. On your side, what could be the best message for the people who are listening to us right now? And also for you, how do you balance that when you get yourself into the mad situation where you feel like everything is not working out and I feel like the whole lot of pressure is on me? How do you balance that and how do you come out victorious in those situations?
I'll tell you honestly, Putom, is I know it sounds redundant. I don't think I've ever spoken about God so much in an interview before. I really don't think so.
I'm happy because it's the same thing to me as well,
exactly.
bro.
It's God for it too, you know, and I've surrounded myself with people who firstly want the best for me and who love me. So there have been times in my life also where I feel like, man, I don't know if this life is worth living. Oh, does it need to be this difficult? And then but then in times where that happens, you need to remember to be grateful. And that's where gratitude comes in, because you see, gratitude is about like when you focus on only the negative, then life is not worth living. But even when things are bad and negativity is happening, if you find gratitude, then you are actually just thankful that you woke up that day.
Yeah.
You're thankful that there's food, that there's a roof over my head. Yes, I'm not a billionaire like I want to be. I'm not the number one artist in the world like I want to be, but I'm alive.
Yeah.
And I have family. I have people who love me. I have a child who loves me, who doesn't care about what social media or what anyone has to say about me, what loss I took on a big platform. I have a wife who's been with me, who supported me throughout it all. So when you're surrounded by that, you know, you can't take your life, you know?
Yeah.
And me making songs like that is to say that, like, I feel like a lot of these people who I mentioned on the songs, and I'll speak about Rick and WHP more specifically because I had real personal conversations with them.
Yeah.
You know, Jabba more specifically because he used to, I mean, by the time he ended up being successful in taking his life, it wasn't the first time he had tried it.
Yeah, true.
You know, and he had done it since he was a child. But in the conversations that I was having with him just before he passed away, one thing I realized that wasn't as prominent in his life was God and his gratitude. In fact, he was more stressed about like where he was in that moment. He's like, people don't listen to my music anymore. I have a child who I need to put through to school, and the resources are running out. I'm not the number one rapper anymore. So he was still seeking for validation and stressing about all these worldly things. And I think that's also some of the stuff that had taken Rick's life as well. You know, I don't want to speak on him because, you know, rest his soul. But it's things like that. But if I could have one last conversation with him, is to say, yo, let's just put our trust in God. I know it's difficult right now, you know, but through God, you know, there's another day and there's another year and there'll be more years, you know. And life is not guaranteed on anyone. We're all going to die ultimately.
Very true.
But while we're here, man, you know, just put your trust in God and really strive for the people who you love around you. I don't strive to be number one. I just strive to make my wife proud, to make my family proud, my child, to make God proud. That's really my goal. Even when people ask me, yo, what's the goal this year? There's lots of things that I'm going to do and you guys will see them. But my number one thing is forming a stronger relationship with God.
With God, yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, let me say this. You are a true legend.
Thank you, bro.
You're one of the great rappers in Africa. And the way you write your music, bro, it has grown to a point where all the things that you say, hence right now, it's even easy to quote your lyrics because there's so much that you say in your music which is profound and also building our society. And while you were talking about God, I would have to say this. I pray that God continue to give you the great wisdom, that you continue to impact Africa's life and you change them and you make them see God differently and you make them continue to trust God, because without God, we are nothing. And you being a prominent artist in Africa, known for being great and also talking about God, it also bring people closer to God because they believe, they know all the things that has happened in your life, but yet you still call to God even in the hard times. So I pray that God continue, Jayami, to give you the strength that you continue to win. And all the wins that you win are not just for you, are all of us who love you and who appreciate all the things that you are doing. Thank you so much, my brother, for the great opportunity. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Put on, man. Me too, man. And to all your listeners as well, God bless you. And to you, man. Like I said, me walking into this room, I remember meeting you years back.
Yeah.
Shelex the rapper, you know? And just even to sit next to you today and, you know, and to discuss music and life. And I look forward to seeing where you are going to be 5 years from now.
Thank you so much,
and
my
10 years
brother.
from now. And I pray that God blesses you too in all your endeavors.
Great, my brother. And congratulations once again. Dust 2 million streams already in 1 week.
Come on.
Congratulations, my brother. You're
Thank
doing
you so
amazing.
much,
Thank you so
gang.
much once again.
Thank you.